Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Bar-jutsu Sports. My name is Dale. I am one of your hosts. Unfortunately, this week we're not joined by our regular hosts, James, Aaron, and Josh. They're all on assignment, so they're all out in the field. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. I brought in a very special guest, local comedian, host of the Snack Life podcast, Amanda Averill. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dale. How are you doing?
I am fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier if I tried.
Yeah, well, we're going to be talking about one of the best topics.
Oh, exactly.
Ever.
So to give you an idea, if you happen to miss last episode, to give you a little bit of background of what's going on this week, it's a very special project that's close to my heart. It's a podcast I host called Barroom Debates. Basically what it is, shit you discuss with friends over a couple drinks, and we happen to have some nice libations here, some Iron City.
Heck yeah.
Not a sponsor. Ish.
Doesn't matter. It's delicious and we're Yinzers, so
Yeah,
it works.
exactly. It works. It all works. But we're going to be talking about this week is Star Wars, and we're going to kind of go into a couple different topics. It's going to be a very interesting conversation, and you are clearly dressed and ready to go, and me not so much, but that's all right. We'll work with it.
I'm always bringing the galactic cuteness wherever I go.
Exactly.
I do, every month of like May, I try to do like the Star Wars, like where you wear a different Star Wars shirt every May.
Oh, yeah.
I got too much Star Wars apparel is what I found out. That I have so much it goes well beyond the month of May. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, and, always, all the local sports teams, they always are. Pirates, the Pens, doing the Star Wars nights, dude. Just seeing some of those people down there at the games just supporting the franchise. I mean, obviously, this reaches out to more than just, the nerd geek community. It goes further.
Yeah, well, the MLB has had amazing Star Wars fan nights that have been going on now for the last few years. And I've gotten to go to some of them. I've gotten to take friends to some of them. And this past summer, I got to go with my mom, and it was great because, firstly, the promotion, we got a free promotional shirt. Anytime you can get a free t-shirt, I'm there.
Oh, exactly.
I'm there for free t-shirts all day, every day, especially a Star Wars one. This year, it was a Mandalorian one, so it's black and gold Mandalorian helmet, so of course I'm all about it. And then, the game, I was there with my mom, who is one of the coolest ladies ever, and completely supports my Star Wars addiction. Thank God my family's very supportive of my addiction to Star Wars. And we could talk more about the other Star Wars things I've gotten away with too. But we were there, game got completely rained out. They didn't even start, they didn't even throw a pitch. They barely took the tarp off of the freaking field because it was supposed to torrentially downpour. So me and my mom were there just eating all the crappy food and just having ourselves a couple beers. Not gonna lie about it. Not gonna lie to you, audience. We have a couple beers, and just hanging out. I got free Star Wars stuff. What a night! What a time!
One thing I kind of want to talk about, because you touched on it briefly, and we talked about it at the very beginning of the intro. You have your own podcast called the Snack Life Podcast, and we were just talking about the MLB stadium. I gotta ask you, when you were at the Star Wars game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you end up going to the second deck and getting the French fries?
Are you talking about the crab fries? So firstly, I've had crab fries before. Crab fries are great. I've had just about everything in that stadium.
Yeah.
PNC Park, as far as I'm concerned, the most beautiful ballpark in the country. There's hands down. It always has been, always will be. It's a
fantastic ballpark. Not a great team, but a fantastic ballpark.
Terrible team, terrible man. It's not that the team's necessarily terrible. The management is terrible. It's the front office that's bad. The team, players, they're great. But, okay, so this is what I had when I was there last time. And if I get a chance to pull up my phone, I can take a look and see if I have it in there somewhere. I got this monstrosity of a pulled pork barbecue sandwich with crispy onion rings and pierogies on it.
I know what
I
you're
got that
about.
sandwich. I got it. I don't know what it's called. It's called the ham, the hawk in your face. I don't know what it is, but it is delightful. It was so good. That was amazing. They also have other traditional things that are Pittsburgh staples there. They've got your Quaker steak and lube wings, which of course my mom got. My mom's a huge wing person. They have, your Permane Brothers sandwiches there. They have all that stuff. But no, I got the sandwich that had like, it was like a pound of meat, just straight up just meat and pierogies, and it was majestic. I'm not gonna lie, it was delightful.
Meat and pierogies, man. That's my kind of party there.
Oh,
But yeah, no, just wanted to touch on that briefly about your podcast, your projects that you're very proud of, obviously.
Yeah. The Snack Life podcast is like my little baby. I do it just because it's fun, and I feel like there's a lot of comedians out there who have podcasts that are just talking a lot about comedy, and for some people that's relatable, but not for everybody. But what can everybody relate to? Snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Snacks. Everybody likes snacks. I've not met one single person who doesn't like a snack. And if they exist, they can contact me and they can come on the podcast and tell me why. They can come on this one and debate me about snacks.
Well, that's exactly it. Like, that's the whole purpose of why I started this particular project, Barroom Debates, is, like you said, a lot of comedians, and I don't want to call myself a comedian. I'm nowhere near that level, not yet. I'm getting there. We'll talk about that differently.
That could be another episode.
That could be another episode altogether, like, why I'm a failed comedian, 20 different reasons. It's like a BuzzFeed article. But no, I wanted to be able to give another platform versus just doing like a straight up comedy thing.
Yeah.
And this is something like a lot of people can get behind. It's just simply, you're having a couple drinks with friends, you want to talk about something. We're going to talk about Star Wars. That's the one thing we're going to go over. And it's going to be interesting, to say the very least. So,
heck yeah.
Just to get in a little bit of background, if you're not at all familiar with the Star Wars franchise, which how could you not be by this point?
Hey, there are people who are not, and that is totally fine. I've got a lot of friends who are more on the Trek side than the Wars side. I get it. I understand.
Hey, I understand both sides of the fence.
I also dabble in Firefly, as well as oh man, I'm gonna forget the name of the show. The one that had Jim Henson do all the Muppets, the Jim Henson Workshop did all the Muppets.
Oh God, I know what you're talking about. But I can't.
No, not Dark Crystal. It's a movie. It was the show. Oh my gosh. Well,
we'll figure it
what
out.
was Fraggle Rock? No, he did that too. But they're bringing Fraggle Rock back. Super excited, by the way.
Yeah.
About that.
Everything's getting a reboot anymore.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about Jim Henson Workshop. Jim Henson Workshop, very tangential to Star Wars.
Exactly.
So I'll let you go ahead and tell the fine folks what Star Wars is, sir.
So for those of you who may not know by this point, Star Wars, created by George Lucas back in 1977, started with an original 3 series called the original trilogy. Started with 4, 5, and 6, because in charge of numbering was Yoda. Yeah, bad joke, I know. Anyways, started with A New Hope, then it goes to Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, ultimately climaxing and making it the end of that trilogy. Lucas decided to take a break for a little while, and then once CGI kind of caught up, that was when he decided to go ahead and step back in, and we come with the with the prequel trilogy, which is Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, starting in 1999, going all the way to 2002.
If you want to get even more technical about it, you could talk about how they did a re-release of the original trilogy with the added CGI elements that George Lucas thought were lacking because the technology wasn't there, which I believe was re-released around 1997.
It was.
So that kind of also puts it in perspective of, well, not only do we have the original trilogy that did super well right at the time whenever VHS tapes and HBO and things like that started to like finally come out.
Really take off.
Then you had the whole new area of nostalgia where he was able to re-release those into the theater with the added CGI. And then that kind of was what allowed, that amount of interest was what allowed them to create the prequel trilogy of 1, 2, and 3, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith.
Yes. And then, fast forward a couple years, we go into the most recent movies, which would be The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, ultimately wrapping it all up, nice neat little bow.
Yeah, wrapping up what they are calling the Skywalker Saga.
Exactly.
Which is the parts of Star Wars that follow the Skywalker family from the inception of it with Anakin, all the way up through with Rey, who adopts the Skywalker name in the final film. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen it. And, of course, Kylo Ren, Adam Driver's character, Ben
Yeah.
Solo, who is part of that as well. So there's, we're following a very specific part of it, and I want to make that clear because we're not going to necessarily talk about things that are in Clone Wars, the animated show, or the Rebels animated series, or anything in the books, whether they're the books are canon or they're not canon, or any of the comic books. Might dip a little bit into Boba Fett and Mandalorian, especially because of some of the characters that have become involved in that and how important they are to the Skywalker saga in general, like that. So.
And admittedly, with that, I'm not as familiar with Mandalorian and the Boba Fett.
We all can't afford Disney Plus.
Yeah, we all can't afford Disney Plus, you know.
We all can't afford Disney Plus, and I can also say you're making a huge mistake by not being familiar with that shit, because, oh boy, is it good.
I will get around to it
So
eventually. But what I want to go ahead and get into here real quick is just, we're going to go ahead and just kind of scratch the surface here. Characters throughout the entire franchise, alright? What I want to know, your top 5 favorite characters.
Okay, alright. So my top 5 favorite characters.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to preface this something real quick. And we're not going to get in a political debate about this or anything like that. So, a lot of my favorite characters are droids. But I used to tell people for a long time, because I've been a Star Wars fan, I got the VHS of the original trilogy for Christmas whenever I was in 5th grade.
Right.
Like, I wanted it for Christmas. I asked for it. I still have that VHS, and it's the original trilogy. Not with the added CGI, none of it. This was like, we're talking Christmas 94. Okay?
Right.
1994 is what we're talking here for this. So, just to give you guys a timeline,
Right, exactly.
Old as shit.
I'm right there with you.
But, so I've been a Star Wars fan as long as I can remember.
Right.
Rode the Star Tours ride in Disney World. That probably had influence on it, watching it on like the paid premium channels at Grandma's house, like the HBOs and stuff probably did a little bit of that to me too. So I for a long time identified as droid.
Yeah.
And there was somebody who put that was their identity on Twitter.
Yes.
And I don't like this person because she's anti-trans. And she put it on there, and at first I was like all excited. I'm like, oh my god, she's like me. She identifies as droid. That's so cute. And then it was like, oh, you're doing this because you're disparaging a whole community.
Oh no.
So it's like, well, not only do I not like you as a person, I'm glad your character's kind of gone from the thing I was watching with you. But now I feel bad saying, hey, I identify as droid, because like most of my favorite characters are droids.
Right.
100%.
Right.
And I'm gonna just start with my number 1 favorite character of all time, and who I think has the best character arc of anyone in any of the Star Wars franchise, out of any character.
Yeah.
And that is R2-D2. Number 1, R2-D2. R2-D2 is the shit. You know, smart ass, like funny.
Yeah.
Like those beep boop beeps. Yeah, we all know, we know what those beep boop beeps mean.
Exactly.
Like, it's like whenever it's so great. R2-D2 is by far my favorite character, and especially now with the addition of things like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, as I kind of like spoileried about a little bit, and that character's involvement in those 2 series, which by the time this is out, you guys are outside of the spoiler window as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
For those things. But like, it's amazing because like you can even hypothesize, like there's so many hypotheses going around that like maybe R2-D2's the one that saved Baby Yoda whenever, you know, Kylo Ren burnt down the school, like if you know, whatever. Like there's so many hypotheses with stuff like that, and R2-D2 is just like a solid character, and whenever they bring R2 back in the trilogies, the newer trilogies, it's just like this heartwarming part of nostalgia for me.
It's so consistent.
Yeah, and it that's a character that, and same with Anthony Daniels' portrayal of C-3PO, although I'm not as big of a fan of C-3PO.
Right.
But like that, it's just wonderful to see it, and to see essentially what the Skywalker saga is the story about these two droids and how they got pulled into this family turmoil, if you really think about it.
Right.
Which is weird, because like they could have just been like, he could have just been like R5 and ended up, working with Pally and making some ships. That's where he could have ended up, but no. Like, and he goes on this major journey, and it's insane. Also, I'm going to say this now, kind of backtracking to the one point I had before. I think that every single person has a droid that they identify with. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their droid. I was talking to my boyfriend about it. He didn't have his droid until he watched Rogue One, and he saw K2SO.
Yep.
And K2SO, by the way, Rogue One, Solo, tangential parts to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
We could get a little into those, but not necessary.
Yeah.
But that was his droid. And of course it's voiced by Alan Tudyk, because why not?
Yeah, Alan Tudyk's in everything.
It's great. Speaking of great voices for droids, and I want to talk about this too. My boyfriend and I are big Matt Berry fans. So whenever we saw the Toast of Tinseltown trailer, and in the Toast of Tinseltown trailer, that's a lot of T's to say.
Yeah.
They have the character talking about how he's in the latest Star Wars film. And, spoiler alert again, for those of you not watching Book of Boba Fett, Matt Berry is the voice of a droid in that series. And when I heard it, I lost my shit. And I immediately went to see if anybody commented on Twitter about it, because I was like, y'all realize now that Toast and Star Wars and argument, they're all in the same realm, and it blew my goddamn mind. And I was so excited about it. It's another droid that I like. But yeah, R2-D2.
Yeah, exactly.
R2-D2, a number one, man.
R2-D2, he does make my top 5.
Yeah.
He's my number 3. But I mean, it's just, like you said, the whole story arc from start to finish with him. He's kind of that smarmy, kind of smart ass, and just the ultimate wingman. The one guy you want on your team.
A literal wingman. That is literally what he does. That is his thing, to blow up stuff with other people. It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, easily he made my top 5. He was number 3 for me. My number 1, I went with a classic because, like you said, I grew up around the same time. We're talking 94. My parents went to Eagle Video in Greenville.
Oh, yeah. I got a giant Eagle Video and get that rental.
I grew up north of here, and got the original 3, and stayed up watching them on VHS. Luke Skywalker is my number 1.
Okay.
And for me, the reason why is his character just goes from being this ultimate badass to try and topple the Empire to being a hermit who does not want anybody to bother him.
I love recluse. I love recluse.
That is me in a nutshell. I'm just like, what do you want? Go away.
I love Luke's character arc is very similar to that of his father.
Yeah.
Where they both just start as young kids out in the sand, and eventually just learn how to balance their emotions and their powers and their abilities, and then it is very interesting to see Luke become who he eventually becomes in that, and in the additional things that are outside of that, the Skywalker saga film-wise.
Right.
They are supplementing parts of that character as well, and it's interesting to see how he developed from Return of the Jedi to the eventual, later trilogy, with, Rise of Skywalker and all that stuff. So it's very interesting. Luke is probably... It's hard for me to say. I would think that Luke is probably around my top 5, for sure. Just because, I mean, he's quintessential. Pretty much without him and Leia, there is no nothing. Star Wars. But that brings me to my number 2.
Yeah.
My number 2.
All right.
Princess Leia.
Princess Leia.
Princess Leia is such a goddamn good character. I got to name my sister's kid after her. My sister's kid is Leia Rey.
Exactly.
Like, and I have a whole bit about it. But, like, that's a different thing. But, like, that's how much she imparted on... That's how much, like, not only, like, Carrie Fisher as a person, but, like, that character imparted onto not just me, but a lot of women who love sci-fi and love Star Wars and stuff like that whenever we were younger. Like, it was very, like, growing up, it was very odd to be a young Star Wars fan and a girl.
Right.
Especially because I was born after all the original movies came out. I was born 2 years after the last film.
Exactly.
So to think about, like, how I got into it, and like what I remember of how I got into it,
right.
and then the love of it that I have, a lot of it, you know, is having that strong female character to relate to, and they just continue to make her a badass in the final 3 movies as well.
Exactly.
So I just have a love of Carrie Fisher in general as a person. She was funny and quirky and just open and honest, and loved everything about her. So I have, like, that does partially weigh into my vote with putting her in that number 2 spot.
Yeah.
Because I think a person who is, I mean, everybody's very developed, everybody in total are very developed people and things like that, but she was able to bring complexities to that character, and she becomes a motherfucking general. General Organa. Like, that's where she's at.
That's huge. And see, like, I feel bad because she gets an honorable mention for me. She is in the best, but she's not in my top 5.
Okay.
But that's a matter of personal opinion.
That's fair. That's fair.
But here's the thing, like you said, exactly, and you boiled it down to the most essential parts of why she is so great. Not only does she become this badass from being originally like, help me Obi-Wan, you're my only hope, to all of a sudden becoming a general of you know, the Rebel Force, and just that development is so huge. And then for her outside of Star Wars to be so outspoken and just a champion of you know, female fans of the Star Wars saga, or female fans of sci-fi in general, and just like how outspoken she was about it. She was not only in her personal life, but also in the professional life and acting life, just absolutely great.
I remember the day that she died, my boyfriend called me. And he was just like, because he knows I listen to NPR most of the time, he called me, he goes, are you okay? Are you okay? Because like this, I know that you're probably not okay. Are you okay?
Right.
Like, because it's just that. Because it is. It's like she's such a force and such a huge influence on everything. Like, and then you even look at how also we can say what we want about technology affecting things as far as film's concerned, but the way they integrated her into Rogue One, the way that they integrated her Jedi training into the, I believe it was in Rise of Skywalkers where they really focused on that part. It may have been one of the other films in the later trilogy because I'm not thinking about it clearly right now. But the way that they like went and they did that like thing where they make them look younger and they do all that stuff, and like I know like there's the whole like Deadeye thing of how, you know, like the eyes don't always quite look right whenever they do that type of thing to an actor, or you know what it is the person standing in for the actor who does that.
Exactly.
But like if they wanted to make a movie that was about like her, you know, being like, you know, like leaving that like starting that Jedi training and then leaving that Jedi training and have it be all of that, I'd watch. Like that is a story that I'd love to hear and love to watch and love to see. And unfortunately for me, like I don't always have the attention span to read things, so I know that there's like different pieces of literature out there that explore this stuff, but it's also like I have the attention span of a tater tot sometimes.
Oh,
it does not
I'm right there with you.
But yeah, Leia's definitely my number 2. What about you? Who's your number 2?
My number 2, that scruffy nerf herder, Han Solo.
Oh, okay. I could see that. Han is near my top 5, maybe. in it. Not necessarily sure. Because I am kind of just shooting from the hip with this.
Exactly.
Because like, haha, shooting from the hip, get it? Nice. I loved it. I love, again, loving the actor who portrays the character, loving Harrison Ford and what he did with that character. But, and I think, I gotta be honest, I think the movie Solo gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
Because Solo, the film, for all of its flaws and faults, it's not the worst, but Star Wars fandom is also very, very judgmental at times.
Exactly.
Just in general, they can be a very judgmental fandom, but anything that has a super fandom can be that way.
Exactly.
I'm not saying it's exclusive to this.
No, totally.
Do I think it's the best movie out of there? No. Do I think it's the worst? No. It's not the worst Star Wars movie.
Right.
And we could get into a debate as to what the worst Star Wars movie is, too.
We could.
Because, oh boy.
Yeah.
But Han watching Solo and seeing his character arc in that, and finding out why he is who he is, because at the beginning of I would say at the beginning of A New Hope and everything like that, he's not a recluse, but he's definitely all out for himself. And the only person or the only other character he really cares about is Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Which, towing the line, Chewbacca's in my top 5.
Oh, yes.
Definitely top 5 for sure. So, it's interesting to see that character development, and then, I want to know what happens to him and Leia, to where, they have that relationship that's not all patched up and A-okay, and they're not that homogenous kind of family with their little Ben Solo.
Yeah, they're not
like
this.
Kylo Ren. I want to see it.
They're not this perfect nuclear family. They're just, they're making it work. And, like I said, it was so cool to see Han's development from, like you said, the original series, and then going into Force Awakens, and then I gotta talk about that one scene, where he's with Kylo and the lightsaber.
Yeah.
It crushed me a little bit, but at the same time, it develops so much more of the story.
Yeah, it develops a lot more of the story, and I feel like if we collectively would have known what was going to happen to Carrie Fisher at the onset of things, I feel like that trilogy would look entirely different. I don't think she would have been the last one to kind of go in that sense. I think it would have been done a little bit differently, personally.
Exactly.
Also, if they would have just let certain people direct the films they wanted to direct, it would have looked a lot different too.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh boy.
That's another
That
time.
That is another debate. But that's the thing, is that it's interesting to see his character become an old man. Because you think of him as this scoundrel going through the galaxy, just that's fantastic. It's an interesting life to think about. And then you just see him be that old man, and that honestly Johnny Cash's version of Hurt just plays in my brain every time I think about it. Because that's really what it is. He's the man who's old enough to understand what those lyrics mean. As opposed to the young kid who wrote the lyrics, who gets it, but doesn't get it the same way.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a goodie. Yeah.
Real quick, 4 and 5?
I didn't get to number 3 yet.
Oh, you didn't get to number 3? Oh,
no,
man, no.
We just got to number 2. We both just got our number 2s.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're going to get there. So, number 3, so this is where it gets this is where my stuff gets dicey.
Exactly.
Number 3, I have to go Yoda. Because Yoda, do I like how they brought him back in the latest trilogy? No. I think you could have just left him.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate to say, because I enjoy Frank Oz. I enjoy everything, pretty much everything. I'd have to really go back and look. That the Jim Henson Studio does, and everything that I'm a big fan of that kind of thing.
Right.
And Farscape was the name of the show that I forgot the name of.
There it is. Eventually we'll get back to it.
Yeah, we'll eventually get back to Farscape. Farscape's a whole other thing. But I loved Yoda. Like when I was a kid, they had like the Yoda like backpacks. And ever since I was a child, my grandmother offered to buy me one when we were in Disney because I was spoiled and got to go to Disney a lot. But like she always offered to buy me one since I was little. Until now, as an adult, she's still like, are you sure you don't want that backpack? And I'm like, Grandma, you've asked me for the last 30 years if I've wanted that backpack.
Yeah.
I do, but I'm not gonna make you spend that money on that backpack. like I do. I love Yoda. I love the whimsy of the character, everything like that. Again, I am not super well versed in. I'll be honest. Like I've not watched Bad Batch or Clone Wars or any of the animated stuff.
No.
I've watched a couple episodes here and there, and I know he appears in that. But it's just such an interesting, unique character to think about. Existing for 900 years, and then whenever they did the prequel trilogy, and you actually see him lightsaber fight, for as much shit as that scene gets, holy hell, you're watching Yoda be like young and spry. It's great.
It was fantastic.
Like that's one of my favorite things, and just the wisdom that the character carries, and like that like sly little smirkiness that he gets whenever he's training Luke. He's a great character. He's just honestly written as a great character, so you can't go wrong with that. And that's the problem with picking a list like this. We're gonna hit a point
where it's
real hard, and I know my number 4 is a tie. So like I'm gonna be honest with you about that. My number 4 is a tie because like you're getting into some really good characters, and especially the first 3 characters that I've mentioned have really juicy backstories and have longer existence in the lexicon of Star Wars. So and are almost, and in Leia's case, like part of the focal point of it.
Exactly.
So it's interesting to like pick those apart.
Right.
A little bit.
Exactly.
Who's your 3?
We already talked about number 3. Talked about him earlier. R2D2, the ultimate wingman.
R2. Okay.
I'll get into my number 4
Who's
then.
your number 4 then?
Since we're kind of getting there, I'm gonna go a little bit off script here.
Go ahead.
Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine.
Yeah, Palpatine's my number 4.
Okay. Well, it's very clear. It's very clear that I have an allegiance to the rebels. To the rebels, my friends.
Right.
It's very clear that that's where my allegiance lies. I'm aware of that. Tell me why Palpatine.
Palpatine just, to me, like, watching the first 3, just seeing the progression to him becoming this penultimate villain.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do, and this is just me being stupid and silly. I watch a YouTube series called Game Grumps. And
I know Game Grumps.
You know Game Grumps?
Oh, I know Game Grumps.
They did
hours of their Monopoly.
An episode where they did the Palpatine voice. And for me, that's just, every time I hear it, that's all I can think of is that one scene where he's getting ready to cut off. I was like, get it. And it just, to me, it brings kind of that level of joy. And it's a weird feeling, especially given what that scene entails, what's going to happen. But yeah, no, just to see him progress and become, you know, you think that he's going to try and unite everything, and then all of a sudden just it brings that darkness into it.
I think that's one thing that the prequel trilogies got right was the Palpatine arc.
Yes.
I think that is 100% probably, is it the only thing they got right? Debatable.
Yeah.
I think that there's good and bad with everything, especially in Star Wars. But the arc of Palpatine, like, I liked seeing that part of him in that origin story and everything involved with that. How did you feel about them bringing it back around in the later ones?
I honestly, like,
I hated it. I hated that they made her like his granddaughter. Like, what the fuck? Like, we all don't need to be related in space. Like, everybody's just jizzing into a vacuum, apparently, of space. That's what's happening. And that's how everybody's related in Star Wars.
Apparently, space is West Virginia.
That's it. I don't like. Well, I mean, you could have said that with A New Hope, all right? Like Luke and Leia did make out. Yeah, it's not good, not good. But like, no, like that was the part that made me kind of mad. It's like there doesn't have to be a reason.
There
like,
doesn't have to be. A reason.
She could have just been force sensitive. She could have like her parents could have been force sensitive and not necessarily realize that full potential, and then they thus created that.
Yeah.
I also hypothesized for a while before the final films came out that like, you know, Kylo Ren destroyed the school. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he murdered everybody inside.
Yeah.
He could have gotten people out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they could have just like escaped because they thought it was like a weird, because it's that weird boarding school kind of idea. Like, Kylo Ren could have been the Paris Hilton in this situation and just got everybody out of that terrible boarding school.
Exactly.
But like, yeah. So
for them to bring in that character arc and say, this is how we're gonna go ahead and make it so Rey, it explains why she has this ability. It makes no sense. There's no need for it. They ruined it in the later films. The first 6, great.
Yeah.
Love it. The last 3, not so much.
They're okay. They're not the worst, but they're poetry. They rhyme, right? With the first ones, I have to steal that George Lucas meme. But I get why they do certain parts of it. I don't understand other parts of it, and that was one part that I just didn't agree with their creative liberties. All right, my number 4 is a tie between Finn and Poe Dameron. I call it a tie between the two because like both of them have about the same amount of time to develop if you really want to think about it.
Right.
Because there is parts in time where Finn is technically unconscious in films, and other parts where he's more explored, and then Poe is more explored, and things like that.
They managed to trade off, and it's
exactly.
I can understand exactly why it's a tie.
I love those two characters. Mm-hmm. Wanted to see their relationship develop. Whether you want to, we could speculate all day on, whether their relationship was romantic or non-romantic. I don't care. I just enjoyed seeing their connection in their relationship.
Exactly.
That's what one of the key cruxes of Star Wars is exploring the relationships throughout the galaxy. Whether you're exploring the relationships through a council of different planets that are organized, or whether you're exploring it through the relationships in a Jedi Council.
Exactly.
That's what it is, and that's a relationship I wanted to see explored further. And I really think that they really gave Finn the short end of the stick, and same with Poe.
Yeah.
And we could talk about Rose Tico all day. I'm glad that Disney made her a princess, though, because of all those online haters, so that's a thing. But, and they don't have as much background and as much story to really dive into as the other aforementioned characters that we've listed. So that's why they're tied at my number 4, because I love both of them so much. But all I want is just more, and I know I'm not going to get it, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing of it all. But I mean, like you said, I exactly sympathize as to why it would be a tie, because they're both, like you said, they both have that time to develop. There could have been more. Unfortunately, there wasn't. Maybe we'll get more down the road.Maybe they'll go ahead and do a complete different story arc with it. Who knows?
Maybe we'll get more of Poe. I don't think we're going to get more of Finn because of how Disney treated people, supposedly. So, yeah.
And then we'll go ahead and round it out. Number 5.
Number 5 for me, Chewbacca. Chewbacca is just another character very much like R2-D2, where you get to see, like he gets pulled into the family strife, but he is Han's ride or die. And there's nobody that makes every time I see Chewbacca on screen, my heart just feels warm and full, and I love Chewbacca so much. I even watched the Life Day stuff. Yeah, I watched that. Watched the animated. I watched it. Oh yeah, love Chewbacca. Love Chewie. There's never been a bad. Chewie's never done anything wrong in my eyes. Chewie's just been great. Solo with the origin story where he and Chewie develop a relationship, could have been better. But I would rather just watch a Thelma and Louise of Han and Chewie. That's what I would have rather watched, personally. That's just me. Who's your number 5?
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu?
Yes.
Oh! motherfucker in the galaxy there.
Exactly, Samuel L. Jackson.
There's also speculation that he could have saved Grogu from the school as well.
Exactly.
During the Order 66 and all that other stuff too.
Right.
So, yeah. So why Mace Windu?
Delivers the ultimate line that pushes Anakin towards that dark side. You sit on the council, we do not recognize you as a member, or however the line is.
Yeah, we do not grant you the rank of master.
We do not grant them. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Just that line alone starts the nudge, starts the pendulum the other way.
Yeah.
And slowly progresses into Anakin becoming, turning to the dark side, and then eventually becoming Darth Vader.
I like Mace Windu, but, and this goes back to the whole like speculation of did he help people during Order 66? Is he really dead? We don't really get the full story on Mace Windu, and that's a character extended universe wise that I would love to explore because he's such a rational character, and whenever you look at the Jedi Council, you want to think of them being mostly rational, but
right, exactly.
But when you think about it, like Qui-Gon Jinn, not really rational. He trained a kid he shouldn't have trained. He was born to not train, and he died. And then Obi-Wan, again, not really rational either, because he took over that based on what his master had wanted. So it's interesting because, like, it seems like the most rational of the Jedi, at least of the Jedi that are more explored,
right,
in the Star Wars films, are Mace Windu and Yoda. And it's interesting to see, like, there's no reason why Yoda is warned against training Luke in any way or anything like that.
Exactly.
So there's no problems there, but like Mace Windu and like all of his logic and everything like that, it's very interesting to kind of find out. Can I say that I'm just shocked neither of us said Lando?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Lando Calrissian, especially, okay. Billy D. Williams, fantastic. Donald Glover, chef's kiss. Oh my god! Oh my god, that is also Lando Calrissian, honorable mention.
Exactly.
Honorable mention, played by two different actors, and two different phenomenal actors who just kill it every time in that role. And I do want to see an exploration of like them finding like, because at the end of the Rise of Skywalker, they have him wanting to go off and find like the origin of like these other people who have left the stormtroopers and stuff like that. So I would love to see a film that's based on that. Like there's so much extended universe type stuff that's away from the Skywalker saga.
You could take a lot of the stuff that's extended outside of Skywalker saga and make whole new franchises off of it.
And that's a lot of what Disney and Disney Plus are doing. Like, do I want to see the Andor series, which is about, Cassian Andor, one of the people who was involved in Rogue One? Not so much, because I know how Rogue One ends. I know how his story ends. I don't want to see that necessarily. Will I watch it? Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to watch it, because I watch everything Star Wars as far as, like, the live action stuff's concerned. But, like, I would rather see, like, some of that other kind of stuff get explored as well that they haven't mentioned. They also have the Obi-Wan series coming out, which, I mean, I'm always down for Ewan McGregor. Nobody's gonna.
No doubt.
No,
exactly.
This is fine by me.
So, I'm actually just gonna go ahead. We're gonna shorten the list. Who's the worst?
Who's the worst character?
Worst character.
I gotta go Padme Amidala.
Oh.
She really doesn't hit her stride until the last film. And in the last film, like, she dies of a broken heart. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I mean, and firstly, let's be honest, okay? Postpartum care for women, especially in America, not great. Okay, let's be real. We're one of the countries with the highest death rates whenever it comes to women after birth.
Right.
But like, you can't have me believe that she died because she gave birth, and then you're telling me she died of a broken heart. Come the fuck on. Like, seriously?
Yeah,
seriously.
She's supposed to be the powerful ruler, and just, you die of a broken heart? Why? What is that storyline? It's just the same thing as, like, why, we go back again to Palpatine, why do you have to make it so this makes sense?
And the other part of it is too, with
Or
her
to justify it, I
with
guess,
her
is
character, they also had people who would play her. Ironically enough, I think it was it Keira Knightley? It was Keira Knightley who played the double version of Padme to Natalie Portman's like actual Padme.
Right.
So even if Padme dies, they should still have her double somewhere. Play out that story.
Yeah. Let's
Why
see.
not have I understand that the kids are separated at birth and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't have a fake Padme. And then Darth maybe trying to pursue that fake Padme at some point either. Pursue for nefarious reasons.
Exactly.
Not try to wham bam thank you man.
not
He
trying
already
to
did
score.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
But
No.
it was just they gave it what a shit deal.
Yeah, that was
What a
pretty
shit deal they
deal.
gave her.
My worst character, Jar Jar Binks. It's an easy choice for me.
They do give him a decent arc, though. They promote him through the ranks and stuff like that.
I'll give him that, but just I have a thing about voice acting. I have a thing about just
yeah.
why does everything that he says have to be so goddamn grating?
The fact that made it through so many panels of screen test, firstly it has to make it through all those levels of approval, and then also screen tests. No fucking way. Why? I don't understand how it worked either. We can. Ugh.
Yes.
There's so much to dive into on that character alone that I don't even want to tread on.
Oh man. So like I was alluding to earlier, the reason why I went over our best and worst is I went to two different sites. I went to Rolling Stone. They made a list in 2018, and I went to Screen Rant in 2020. And they gave the 15 most hated versus the 50 best. And there were a couple that crossed. Ironically enough, we'll talk about Rey. Rey they have on Rolling Stone is number 7 best.
Okay.
Screen Rant, worst.
Number
one.
Oh, see, that's a bold statement. That I love Screen Rant, and I love the things that they do. I'm a big fan. I watch a lot of their videos. But I gotta disagree with that, because, for Christ's sake, the two characters we mentioned were worse.
Yeah, exactly. There's so,
It's all very objective, and I understand. Yeah. And also, Rey only had 3 films to develop. Technically, so did Padme.
Yeah.
And Jar Jar theoretically only had 3 too. And they could have also been just. But if you're making that big of a list, no.
Yeah, Jar Jar made 15 by the way on Screen Rant, so at least there's that bit of salvage for that alone. I'm gonna go ahead and get into a little bit of a speed round.
Okay.
Deal.
I'll try.
All right. So, who do you think is the coolest character out of the franchise that you would want to hang out with and grab a beer?
Oh, Han Solo.
Han Solo.
Oh, Han, Lando, and Chewie. I would have played that game. I would have played that Star. I would play that game. That
oh,
game.
we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Who do you think is the biggest asshole?
Biggest asshole?
Yeah.
Probably Palpatine. He seems like he'd be like, "Let's go, Brandon," and just walk away. He seems like he would do that, and I would just be like, "What is that? Your nephew?"
Yeah.
Just no, fuck that.
Who do you want as a drinking partner?
Oh, in a drinking partner competition, I gotta say Chewbacca.
Chewie's my choice for that drinking competition, man.
He also would be best at beer pong too, because he's got that reach.
He's got
that reach and that height. Peter Mayhew, that great actor, got that reach, that height, definitely, yes.
We touched on it earlier. Empire or Republic?
Oh man, I gotta go with Republic. I got a giant tattoo.
Exactly.
It's just how that works. I know that I'm not that was the thing. Whenever I got this tattoo, I have friends who have ones that are both Empire and Republic tattoos or Rebel tattoos or Star Jedi tattoos, and I'm like, man, I don't have the confidence to call myself a fucking Jedi, but I can say I would politically align more with the Rebels necessarily. So. And
then lastly, out of all the franchises and everything else, fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, out of everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm ranking the trilogies then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well you're gonna gonna kill the prequel trilogy.
Yes.
You're definitely gonna. I mean, just based on the way that cast looks, you're gonna fuck that new trilogy. I'm just thinking about Adam Driver and that gif of more. I'm like, yep. And then you're gonna marry the OG trilogy. Why? Because it has been there for you since childhood. It is invested in you. It is supportive.
And you know what? Ironically, the way that you say that, I was gonna go into the top 3 out of all the series, top 3 films. The ones that you just listed are like the way that I have them ranked top 3.
Yeah.
So like, the OG trilogy was like my number 2. It's a solid number 2. And then the newer trilogy was my number 3, and then the OG's number 1. You gotta go with that.
Gotta go with the OG number 1, and like that's why I watch a lot of times I'll watch it in machete cut too, which is also an interesting thing that we could discuss. The proper way to watch the films. Is it chronological? Is it machete? Is it how do you do it? So
exactly.
Yeah.
We'll have to save that for another one. I mean, it's just been, this time has flown. Amanda, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to wrap up our edition of Bar-jutsu Sports, special edition of the Barroom Debates podcast. Thank you again to Amanda Averill. I want to thank, obviously everybody that participates with the Bar-jutsu Sports program. James, Josh, Aaron. We'll all catch you next time. And as always, drink responsibly. We'll catch you on the next episode. Cheers.